Hi everyone, welcome to another video on AWS Lambda. So today we'll be talking about AWS layers. We'll go through what, why and how, and finally I'll show you a hands-on demo on how you can create layers and use them with your Lambda function. So we'll start with what. So what is layers? So layers is a zip file archive that contains additional code or other content. So when you are creating your deployment package, what you normally do is you have both your code as well as your dependency inside a single zip package, and then you upload that zip package to the Lambda, and then you finally run it. But what this layers allows you is to create a separate package which has only the, let's say, dependencies or only the libraries or only the configuration file, and you can upload them as layers, and then you can later use them in your Lambda function as if it was already present inside your Lambda function. So basically a layer can contain libraries, custom runtime, data or configuration file, or basically any additional or let's say common code that you want to have. Let's say you have a couple of Lambda functions where you are using let's say where you are trying to fetch something from S3 or some database, then you will have same code in all those Lambda functions. So instead of having duplicate codes, what you can do is you can create a layer where you have this common code, and then you can utilize this same layer in all of those Lambda functions. And normally you can only add up to 5 layers in a single Lambda function, so make sure you use it wisely. So now the question is, why should you use layers? The first advantage it provides you is that it reduces your deployment package size. So when you upload a zip file in Lambda function, the size limit is about 50 MB. And so if you have both your code as well as your libraries, it is bound to get bigger than 50 MB, and then you'll have problem with that. So when you divide your code into, let's say the business logic is in your Lambda function, whereas all your dependencies, let's say common codes, are inside Lambda layers, in this way it allows you to reduce your deployment package. It also, because you can use a single layer in multiple Lambda functions, it basically promotes code sharing, and it also helps in separation of responsibilities. So now what you can do is you can have multiple layers which are dealing with, let's say, all the common functionalities that you share across your functions, and then Lambda function only has the business logic that you really care about. So for example, code that let's say fetches something from database or stores something in database, you can have them in a layer, and finally in your main Lambda function you can only have the business logic where you are simply calling that method and it is giving you the results. So it really helps you separate the responsibilities. And one thing is that when you are working with layers, it only works with the Lambda function which is created as a zip file or from scratch. You cannot use layers when you are creating a Lambda function with a container image. Finally, how? So how can you create a Lambda layer? So a Lambda layer is nothing but a zip file. So when you are creating this zip file, based on the runtime, you need to have the directory of your folders in a particular format. So for example, if you are creating the layer for a Python application, then the root folder should be Python, and inside this Python folder you can have all your libraries, your additional codes, your configuration files, and anything that you want. Or you can even have the following directory structure, where in the root folder is Python, inside that you have library, Python version, and finally side packages. So you can have all your additional codes, all your libraries inside these side packages. So if your let's say zip file follows this structure, Lambda will be automatically able to find all of your codes or additional libraries that you are using. But if you are not following this structure, you might have to provide the path variable to the Lambda so that it can understand where to fetch your code from. So if you don't want to go through that hassle, it's it's better to follow this structure. I'll show you how you can create let's say a Lambda layer with this structure, and then you can finally use that in your Lambda function. Okay, so what we'll do now is I will walk you through a couple of examples as to how you can create a layer and then you can use it in your Lambda function. I have a folder called layers, and inside it I have created a couple of subdirectories for a set of examples for creating different types of layers. So we'll start with a layer that has only some libraries, and then we'll create another layer which has some let's say common codes or utility codes that we want to use in our code. Okay, so if we go inside this folder called request layer, so what I have done is I have installed this request package inside this folder Python. So if I go inside it, I can see all the request. I can see here is the request library and additional libraries that it requires. So for creating a layer, what you need to make sure is that the root folder should be the Python, and only inside the Python folder you need to have all your libraries. So this is a must if you don't want to provide any path variable. So what I will do is I will remove the previous zip file that I have created, and I will create a new one. So to create a zip file, you can use the following command. I will name it request layer zip dot zip, and then provide the location. So what this does is it creates a zip file now which has inside this zip file the root directory is Python, and finally inside the Python we have the package that we need, which is request package. Okay, once we have it, what we'll do now is we will create a layer in AWS. Okay, so to create a layer, what we can do is we'll go to Lambda. Once you are inside the Lambda, you can see here in on the left panel we have these layers. So now what we can do is we can create a layer. I'll name it, let's say, request layer. You can add a description. Let's say this layer contains a request package. We'll upload a zip file. We'll go in request layer, and here is our zip file. We'll open it, and these are optional fields. You can add them or not. It's not mandatory, but it helps AWS Lambda functions to identify the type of layer that you are using. So for example, I'm creating this layer for Python. So what I will do is I'll select Python runtime for this. So AWS Lambda can understand, okay, this layer can be used for the functions which has Python runtime, and then I'll create it. So it should take a while. Okay, finally we have this request layer. So now you have this layer which has request package in it, and now what we'll do is we'll create a Lambda function. We'll go inside the here is the function. We'll create one. I'll name it my function, and we'll select Python runtime and finally create. So our function is created now, and here is our function. We'll just try to invoke it. We'll create a test event, save it, and now if I run it, okay, so my Lambda function is working. So now what I will do is I'll try to import the request library, and let's say we try to do something here. Request.get, we'll just try to make a call to example.com. Okay, and we'll deploy it. and we know that this is not going to run because by default Lambda has only the standard Python library, and you can see that we have the error request was not found. So in a traditional approach, what you do is you have your Lambda function as well as dependency bundled together, and in that way Lambda can understand where to get your dependencies from. So what we are trying to do is we are trying to separate our code and let's say the additional things that we require for it. So what we'll do is if you scroll up, you can see here your Lambda function, and below it we have layers. So if you click on it, it will basically move you down, and here what you can do is you can add a layer. And now because we created our own layer, it is referred to as custom layers. We'll select on it, and from here here is the name of the layer that we created. And when you are creating layers in Lambda, let's say AWS allows you to create different versions for the same layer, so it is important to select the version as well. And since we have not modified it, we only have the version 1, and finally add. Okay, so now our Lambda function has one layer, and we know that in this layer what we have done is we have added a Python package called request. So what I can do now is I can simply import this package as if this was already installed, let's say in this Lambda runtime environment. And now if I were to run this, so you see that we didn't find any errors, but we have not added any print statements. Let's say okay, let's add some print statement just to see what the status code was. Status code response dot status code. Okay, we will deploy it. And we'll run our Lambda function. So in the function logs, you can see the print statement of status code. So this is how you can create a layer, and you can associate it, or let's say include it in your Lambda function, so that your Lambda function can know where to fetch your additional codes from. So in this example, we created a layer which was basically holding the package. Now we'll try to create another layer which has some additional codes and not just some Python packages. So this time we'll look into utility folder, or let's say utility layer folder. So what we have here is a Python folder. Let's say this will be our root directory for our layer, and inside this we have a file called greeter. And if we just look at the contents of this file, we only have one method called greet, and it basically prints a welcome message. Now if we look at the common folder, so inside common folder we have a file. Let's go inside it. So inside the common folder we have the file called utils, and let's look at the contents of utils. So here we have two methods, get current time UTC and get server local time. So basically uses datetime package to give you the UTC time and the local time. So now what we'll do is we'll create a zip file from this. So let's go all the way back to the Python folder. Yeah, so when we are creating a zip file, we want to make sure that Python is the root folder. So we'll create a zip file and we'll name it utility.zip, and we'll provide the path. Okay. So now we have a zip file here. So what we'll do is we'll go back to AWS console. We'll go back to layers. Let's refresh it. So we already have one layer. Now what we will do is we'll add another layer. We'll create another layer. I'll name it date time. Let's say utility has utility methods for date time, and we'll upload it. So this was the request. layer, we'll go back, and we have, it should be inside layers, utility layer, and here is the zip file. We'll upload it. Again, these are optional. Let's say if you don't select it, what will happen? Okay, so now the layer is being created and we have this layer. I'll copy this ARN because we are going to need it. Okay, let's go back to our Lambda function, and in our function we will add this layer. So we'll select custom, and we'll as you can see here, even though we have two layers that we created just now, we can only see one layer. We can only see request layer that was created before, and this is because when we were creating the layer, we didn't provide the optional failed runtime environment, and because of that AWS thinks that only this layer is suitable for our Lambda function. So in that case, what we want to do is we can also specify the layer using the ARN. So we'll select this option and paste the ARN for our layer that we created right now. We'll verify it, and then we'll add it. Okay, so this layer was added to our Lambda function, and as you can see, we have two layers now, a request layer and datetime utility layer. So what I will do is I will try to import, firstly I will import the greet message that we have, and for that the name of the file was let me look at the file name. So it was inside Python, and the file name was greeter. We'll try to look at the name of the method as well. Okay, so the name of the method is greet. So from greeter import greet. So you can use those methods as if they were already inside your Lambda environment. And we will, let's call this method greet, and we'll provide the name. We'll provide hello world. And we'll also try to import the datetime utility methods. So for that, we'll go inside common folder. Inside common, we have, let's verify it. So inside Python, we have common. Inside common, we have utils, and inside utils, we have get current time UTC. We'll copy it. So common.utils, we want to import this method as well as another method. The name is get server local time. Okay, so now we have imported both of these methods. We'll try to call both of them here. So because this method is returning a date time, we'll try to print it. UTC time, and the name was get current UTC time. Call this. Similarly, for local time, we will invoke get server local time method. Okay, and we'll deploy it, and it's done. Now we will run our Lambda. Okay, so the Lambda run successfully, and to see the print statements, we can see it in function logs. So we'll start with the greet method. So what this greet, so we can see that this greet method indeed was executed, and we have this UTC time and local time. So meaning we were able to create a layer which has our, let's say, utility methods or some additional codes that we didn't have to include in our original Lambda function, and we can simply use those methods by importing them. And for that we created a layer, and inside that layer we added those codes, and now we can use them as if they were originally part of this Lambda function. So what this allows you is that you have very clean code here. So inside Lambda handler you can only have, let's say, the core business logic, and rest of the code, or let's say rest of the Python dependencies, you can move them to Lambda layers. And I think, yeah, so this is how you work with Lambda layers. So if you have any confusions, you can write them in the comment section, and stay tuned in for more AWS videos. I think I'll be releasing them once a week. At least I'll try to do that, but let's see. Okay, thank you.